Fluorescent lights cast a harsh white glow over the ICU hallway, bouncing off sterile tiles and cold metal. Outside a glass observation window, K9 Officer Titan, a seasoned Belgian Malinois with amber eyes and a scar across his snout, stood completely still, except for the soft growl curling from his throat. His ears were pinned back tail stiff, eyes locked on the motionless figure inside the room, Officer Rachel Monroe, his partner of 5 years. Her face was pale, her body lined with IVs and machines hissing their sterile lullaby of life support. But it wasn't her condition that had Titan on edge. It was Dr. Neil Harrington. The man in the white coat adjusted Rachel's IV line with clinical precision, yet every move, every flick of his fingers, made Titan's growl deepen. "Easy, boy." Detective Luis Navarro, standing beside Titan with a leash in hand, knelt to the dog's level. "She's safe now. She's in good hands." Titan didn't move. He didn't blink, because Titan had smelled this before, that sharp chemical tang, that same scent he picked up hours ago at Red Ridge International Airport, where he and Rachel had intercepted a suspicious cargo manifest. That patrol had ended in chaos, gunfire, smoke, and Rachel slumped in his paws, blood staining her uniform. Now the same scent clung to Dr. Harrington's scrubs, and every time the man entered Rachel's room, her vitals dropped. "Target moving toward Terminal B," Rachel had whispered, pressing a finger to her earpiece. Titan moved at her heel, alert, focused. He caught it first. That scent. Not narcotics, not explosives. Something off, synthetic, dangerous. Titan gave a low bark. Rachel signaled to follow his lead. They had cornered a suspect behind the cargo hangar. Then, gunshots. Rachel shoved Titan aside. Took the bullet meant for him. She never saw who fired it. Titan did. But in the confusion, the shooter vanished. Back to present, ICU hallway. At the nurse's station, Dr. Maya Lin, a young resident with a messy bun and sharp intuition, was reviewing charts when she noticed Titan. "He's not just stressed," Maya said as she approached Luis. "He's giving a behavioral alert." Luis glanced down at the dog. "It's only this one, doctor. He's been acting like this every time Harrington enters the room." Maya's brow furrowed. "I've been in this ICU for 4 years. I've never seen that man before today." She turned sharply. Then, a loud, piercing alarm from Rachel's monitor. Through the glass, they saw Dr. Harrington move quickly, adjusting something on the IV line. Rachel's vitals began to plummet. Titan erupted. He lunged at the glass, bark echoing, through the hallway. But this bark wasn't about explosives. It wasn't about drugs. This was his final warning, the same bark he'd given seconds before the ambush at the airport. NT ICU hallway. Continuous Luis struggled to hold Titan back as the dog snarled and lunged again. Inside the room, "Doctor?" Harrington's eyes flicked toward the window, and for a moment he met Titan's gaze. Something passed between them. Recognition, panic, hate. Then Harrington turned and walked briskly toward the service elevator. "Stop him!" Maya shouted, but Titan was already in motion. Years of training kicked in. Titan yanked free from his leash with a powerful twist of his body, sprinting down the hallway, claws echoing against the linoleum, people diving out of the way, the elevator. Doors were closing. Titan accelerated into elevator. Moments later, doctor. Harrington's hand was on the emergency override when a mass of fur and fury slammed through the narrowing gap. The doors closed just as a scream echoed from inside. Then, silence. INT hospital lobby. Moments later, security rushed to the elevator. Pried open the doors and found Dr. Neil Harrington pinned beneath Titan, bleeding from the arm. A stolen ID lay on the ground beside him. Maya snatched it up. "His name's not Harrington. It's Raymond Bell, an orderly from another hospital." Luis grabbed his radio. "Lock this floor down now." In T, ICU room. Night Rachel's vitals were stabilizing. Maya scanned the charts, her face tightening. "These medication dosages, they're wrong. All of them. This was deliberate." Then Titan whined, a soft sound but urgent. He pressed against the small refrigerator in the corner. Luis knelt beside him. "What is it, boy?" Titan sat, ears locked forward, eyes fixed on the base of the fridge. Luis and Maya exchanged a glance. "Search," Luis said. Titan began sniffing. Within seconds, he froze and stared at the panel. Luis unscrewed it. Inside was a small package, taped to the compressor, several vials, clear liquid unmarked. Except for a faint symbol inked on the label, Maya's face went pale. "I've seen that symbol before. It matches the tattoo on the man Rachel chased at the airport," Luis whispered. "They're not just smuggling drugs." "No," Maya said. "They're testing something, and Rachel found out." Titan looked back toward the hallway, the tension in his body rising again. The danger wasn't over. The people behind this didn't know what Titan knew int. Dark room, unknown location. Same night a phone rang. A gloved hand answered. "They failed," came a voice on the other end. "The cop's alive, and the dog—" The voice paused. "That damn dog stopped him." There was silence, then "make the call." A flicker of movement, a twitch of muscle memory. As Rachel begins to awaken, the puzzle pieces from the airport incident begin snapping together. But danger is still inside the hospital, and Titan knows it. The beeping of heart monitors slowed to a calmer rhythm. Officer Rachel Monroe lay still, her chest rising and falling with machine-regulated breaths. A faint twitch in her fingers, a flutter of her eyelids, the first signs of awakening. Kine. Officer Titan rested beside her bed, his head resting on his paws, but his eyes were locked on her face. He hadn't moved in hours, not since he took down the imposter doctor in the elevator. But his ears, still alert, still waiting, still protecting. "Her sedation's been reduced," said Dr. Maya Lin, reviewing the digital chart. "She could wake up any time now." Luis Navarro stood nearby, arms crossed, service weapon holstered, but his jaw tight. "When she does, I need to be the first person she talks to." Titan let out a soft whine. He already knew. Rachel was fighting, she always fought. Rain lashed the windows as Rachel pored over cold case files, cargo shipments, missing manifests, flagged customs reports. Titan lay curled under her desk, half asleep. Then, her heart rate spiked. Titan's head snapped up. She had found something. Her fingers trembled as she dialed 3 numbers. The first, her supervisor. No answer. The second, an unlisted number. Titan knew the tone in her voice. It was fear. She never made the third call, because outside, a black SUV idled silently across the street. Rachel's fingers twitched again. This time stronger. Titan shifted closer. The monitors spiked, heart rate rising. Dr. Lin leaned in. "Rachel? Officer Monroe, can you hear me?" Rachel's eyelids fluttered. Then, her fingers curled around Titan's muzzle, softly, deliberately. A connection forged from years of loyalty reignited in a single touch. Titan didn't move, but his eyes closed briefly. Relief. Luis scrolled through security footage. He paused on the frame where Dr. Harrington adjusted Rachel's IV, but it wasn't the IV that caught his attention. It was the badge clipped to the man's pocket. Enlarging the image, he spotted the nameplate, Raymond Bell. Maya stepped in beside him. That badge was cloned. It's a real doctor's ID, but Bell was never a physician. He worked sanitation at a private facility across town. Luis's expression hardened. That means someone gave him access, helped him pose. That takes resources and a contact inside this hospital. Int. ICU room. Moments later, Rachel's breathing quickened. Her eyes finally opened, barely. Titan stood immediately, tail thumping once. Luis stepped forward. "Rachel, it's Navarro, you're safe, you're at Briarwood. Titan never left your side." Rachel blinked slowly. Her lips were cracked, but the whisper that came out was unmistakable. "Smell." Luis leaned closer. "What did you say?" Rachel's eyes locked onto Titan. "Smell the doctor." Then she slipped back into unconsciousness. A man in scrubs pulled off a surgical mask. Inside the locked utility room, a second man sorted through plastic canisters, marked hazardous disposal. The first man, the real Dr. Leonard Marsh, head of ICU, looked up. "This one failed," he said coldly. The other man, Graham, a broad-shouldered ex-military type, nodded. "They weren't supposed to wake her up. The dog ruined everything." Marsh's voice dripped venom. "Then we eliminate both. Tonight." Into ICU room. Later that night, the storm outside intensified. Thunder cracked overhead. Rachel stirred again, more alert this time. Titan stood beside her, ears perked. He nudged her arm gently. She opened her eyes fully now. "Titan," she rasped. Luis stepped into view. "We've been waiting, Rach. You gave us a hell of a scare." Rachel's gaze went sharp. Airport in the cargo line was military. Modified vials. Same smell. Chemical. Titan whined, turning his head sharply toward the ventilation grate. In the far corner, a soft hiss began to echo through the room. Luis spun. "What the hell?" Titan growled low. Dr. Lin burst through the door. "The vents are active. That shouldn't be happening. Airflow is set to isolation mode." Rachel forced herself upright. "Titan, get the alarm." Luis opened his mouth to speak, but Titan was already airborne, leaping at the red fire alarm, casing beside the door. Crack! He shattered the plastic cover with a powerful bite. "Wee-oh!" Phew! The shrill wail of the alarm system filled the ward. Outside the room, emergency protocols triggered instantly. Ventilation reversed, fire doors slammed shut, and nurses began scrambling to evacuate the floor. Titan barked wildly. Something was wrong, again. Rachel looked at Dr. Lin. "Check the room, check the meds fridge." Dr. Lin ran to it, opened the compartment, and froze. Inside were 2 new vials, unmarked, clear, still cold. Luis entered behind her. "Jesus!" Dr. Lin turned to him, horrified. Someone tried again. In security monitoring room. Moments later, a security officer reviewed the motion log, every badge scan, every door access, every scrub-clad figure who walked into the ICU. Since the alarm triggered, then he saw it Dr. Leonard Marsh. Only. Marsh was supposed to be home off shift. He radioed Luis. "We've got a breach. Your head of ICU just walked in, and he brought someone with him. Into back hallway, hospital level 5, same time, doctor." Marsh led Graham through a secured staff corridor. The lights flickered. Graham checked his watch. They'll have locked. Down the main elevators. Marsh handed him a staff override key. "Take the utility stairs. She's still in the room. Kill the power. Use the cover of confusion. Get it done." Graham nodded, pulling a silencer from his jacket. Rachel sat upright now, supported by pillows and Dr. Lin's steady hands. Titan stood in front of the door, body low, muscles coiled. Rachel whispered, "He's coming." Luis readied his gun. "Let's give him a surprise." Titan shifted, his weight leaning forward. They could hear footsteps now, steady, deliberate, coming closer. Then, the lights died, and everything went black. Lightning cracked across the night sky, sending flickers of blue light through the ICU windows. Before the blackout swallowed them whole, every machine fell silent. The monitors, the beeping, the low mechanical hum that kept the world stable. Gone. Rachel couldn't see a thing, but she heard Titan move. His paws padded softly across the linoleum, circling back toward her bed. She felt his head pressed gently against her forearm, grounding her. She wasn't alone, Luis whispered from the corner. "We're on backup power, but it's not reaching this wing." "That's no accident." A creak echoed outside the room. Titan froze, then turned sharply toward the door. Rachel's breath caught. That sound, measured footsteps, not running, not rushing. Confident, calm. Too calm for someone in a hospital. Emergency Titan stepped between her and the door. Dr. Lin hissed, "Someone's in the hallway." Rachel could barely see her silhouette in the faint red glow of the emergency exit signs, but Titan's body was unmistakable. Solid, steady, unyielding. The doorknob moved. Rachel reached toward the call button, but Luis had already raised his weapon. The door opened slowly. Standing in the entrance was a man in tactical gear, face shadowed by the flicker of hallway lights. His voice was quiet. Precise. "Well, isn't this cozy?" Rachel's stomach turned. She knew that voice. Chief Warren Dalka, her supervisor, her mentor, the man who vouched for her at every internal review. He stepped into the room, flanked by two more figures in black gear. Their faces were blank, efficient, killers. Titan didn't growl, he just stared. Dalka's voice remained calm. "I told them this would happen. You were always too curious, Rachel, too damn smart. You should have stayed unconscious." Rachel felt her pulse thrum in her neck. "You were at the airport," Dalka smirked. "That wasn't supposed to get messy." But then your mutt caught wind of something he wasn't trained for. Titan took one step forward. Luis leveled his gun. "That's far enough." One of the men reached behind his back. Titan lunged first. The room exploded into chaos. Luis fired as the first man raised his weapon. A scream followed. Dr. Lin ducked behind the bed, shielding Rachel with her body. Titan struck the second man low, jaws clamping around the soft flesh behind the knee. The man went down hard, howling in pain. Dalka stepped back, gun drawn, firing, blindly toward the flashing muzzle lights. Rachel yanked on her IV pole, dragging herself from the bed. Pain lit up every nerve in her side. She bit it down and reached for the dropped pistol near the nurse's cart. Titan released his target and pivoted, eyes locked on Dalka. Rachel aimed through the dark. "Now, Titan!" Titan leapt with terrifying speed. Dalka fired, the shot going wide. Then Titan hit him full in the chest, taking him down hard. Luis kicked the remaining assailant's weapon across the room and cuffed him with shaking hands. "Clear!" he shouted. Dalka grunted beneath Titan's crushing weight, his face bloodied from the fall. "This isn't over." Rachel stepped closer, gun still aimed. "How long?" Dalka coughed. "Since the contracts changed hands, since they started testing prototypes in unmarked boxes. You think it was about money? No, this is evolution." Luis moved in. "You're confessing to biological smuggling, conspiracy to murder a federal officer, and attempted homicide. That's a hell of a legacy." Dalka smiled through bloody teeth. "You don't even know who's really running this." Rachel lowered her weapon an inch. "But you gave us names, didn't you?" His face shifted. Luis held up a phone. "Hospital security's been recording the whole time. Backups on the way. FBI too." Dalka didn't reply. Titan remained locked on his shoulder, unmoving. Sirens howled in the distance. Lights flickered back to life. One by one, the machines beeped back into rhythm. The heartbeat of the hospital returned. Dr. Lin stood, helping. Rachel eased into a chair. "You're lucky," she whispered. "If it wasn't for him—" Rachel looked at Titan. His chest rose and fell slowly, his eyes still watching the door. "I told you," Rachel said quietly. "He's not just a dog." Luis exhaled, pulling a chair over to sit. "So, what now?" Rachel leaned her head back, blinking through the pain. "Now we tell them everything. We follow the trail. We burn their operation to the ground." Titan finally sat, tail sweeping once across the floor. Rachel reached down and scratched behind his ear. "We're not finished yet." Gunmetal morning crept through the slats of the ICU windows. Rain tapped against the glass in soft, measured beats like the ticking of a clock winding down toward something inevitable. Titan lay beside Rachel's hospital bed, but sleep never came to him. His ears twitched, his nose shifted toward every faint scent that wafted under the door. Even now, with Dalka in federal custody and the tactical intruders neutralized, the K9 officer remained alert, watching, waiting. Rachel stirred in bed. Her injuries throbbed with every movement, but her mind was sharp. She kept replaying the airport scene, the way Titan had reacted to the cargo, the chemical scent, the way her supervisor, her friend, had looked her in the eye before trying to kill her. She sat up slowly. Titan's head lifted immediately. Rachel whispered, "Yeah, I know, partner. It's not over." The door opened. Dr. Lin entered quietly, holding a tablet. "You're lucky to be alive," she said, voice low. "Dalka's men disabled half the hospital's security systems. If it wasn't for Titan," Rachel met her gaze. "He saved more than me." Maya nodded. The toxicology report came back. Those vials hidden in the fridge, they're not narcotics. They're prototype agents, engineered, stable, fast-acting, and nearly untraceable. Rachel's jaw clenched. Bioweapons. Yes, designed to mask as medical compounds. The perfect delivery method, treatment vials, oxygen supplies, even IV bags, and the kicker. The compound's base matches samples seized from the airport last year during that supposed fire drill. Maya paused. You were right. It started long before last night. Rachel leaned forward, pain flaring in her ribs. You pulled my old reports? I did. Maya hesitated. Your arrest numbers, your notes on shipments. You kept seeing patterns others ignored. And then there's this. She tapped the tablet, spinning it toward Rachel. A logistics list. It's an internal supply manifest sent from the hospital's procurement department. One of the items was rerouted 3 times, then ended up on your airport's manifest last week. Rachel stared at the list. One item caught her eye, code A94. She remembered that. It was the exact container Titan had flagged before everything went to hell. They're moving it through us, Rachel whispered. Hospitals, airports, anywhere people don't ask questions. Titan stood suddenly, his body tense. He faced. The door, low growl vibrating in his throat. Maya tensed. What is it? Footsteps. Approaching. Luis pushed the door open, out of breath. FBI's here, so is ATF. They want to talk to you. Rachel nodded. Good, but I want access to the evidence room. I need to show them something. Titan circled to her side, pressing against her legs as she stood, weak but upright. Luis helped steady her. You sure you're ready? Rachel looked down at Titan. He wouldn't let me stay down if I wasn't. Together they stepped into the hallway. The building was buzzing now, federal agents, local police, medical staff rushing to restore order. But the atmosphere had changed. They all glanced at Titan with something between respect and awe. He was no longer just the dog who barked at the wrong doctor. He was the one who knew the difference. Rachel led them into a conference room, where Agent Cora Langston, a grizzled woman with ice-gray eyes and an FBI badge clipped to her vest, sat with arms crossed. She stood when Rachel entered. Officer Monroe, heard you've been through hell. Rachel sat carefully, Titan settling at her feet. I've got proof this goes beyond Red Ridge, she said. I've been tracking manifests tied to military. Contractors, same markings as the vials we found. You've got a leak on the inside, maybe more than one. Agent Langston narrowed her eyes. You're suggesting a nationwide infiltration of hospital and airport logistics. I'm not suggesting, Rachel said. I'm confirming. And I've got one more thing. Titan caught that scent before anyone else. He's the only reason I'm alive. Langston looked down at the dog, who met her gaze without blinking. Rachel added, You want to stop this? You need more dogs like him. Louise stepped forward. They also tried a second attack through the HVAC system. Titan triggered the alarm, evacuated the whole ward. Langston's gaze flicked between the two of them, then down to the scar across Titan's snout. Finally, she nodded. All right. We're going to need every detail, starting from the airport bust last month. Rachel looked toward the window. Where the sky was beginning to brighten, she took a breath. It started with a scent. Titan didn't move. He just listened, because he remembered too. Hours later, they stood outside the hospital, Rachel now in a wheelchair, Titan at her side as Agent Langston handed her a manila folder. We're building a task force, the agent said. Nationwide K9 integration. Hospitals, airports, major transport hubs. You and your partner, if you're willing, you'll be the cornerstone. Rachel opened the folder, revealing a prototype tactical vest with sensors, reinforced armor, and a custom tracking system for Titan. He sniffed it, then sat down proudly. Rachel smirked. He approves, Langston added. We believe there's a second wave coming. The people Dalka worked for, whatever this group is, they're not done. Rachel nodded. Then neither are we. Titan's tail swept once across the concrete. He lifted his head toward the sky. The rain had stopped, but the storm wasn't over, not yet. The air on the rooftop was still, almost too quiet, as if the city itself was holding its breath. From the edge of the hospital's highest floor, the lights of Red Ridge shimmered like broken glass scattered across the skyline. It should have felt peaceful, but Rachel knew better. Titan lay at her feet, head resting across his front paws, eyes half closed, but never fully asleep. He didn't rest, not really, not when danger still whispered beneath the surface of everything. Dr. Maya Lin emerged from the access door behind them, 2 coffees in hand. "Your FBI friend left," she said. "They're sending over more. Intel tomorrow." Rachel accepted the cup with a quiet thanks. Maya sat beside her, letting the wind toy with a loose strand of hair. "You know," she said, "I used to think K9s were just well-trained dogs, nothing more." Rachel glanced down. "So did I. Until he proved me wrong." Titan's ears flicked. Maya sipped her coffee. That smell he picked up. The chemical. Compound. They found traces of it in 4 other hospitals. 4, Rachel. This is national, maybe bigger. Rachel nodded. "It's a network. And the scary part? It's smart. They use the cracks in the system, the moments no one's watching." Maya looked over at her. "But Titan's always watching." Down below, sirens echoed faintly. A low-flying plane passed overhead. Rachel watched its blinking lights cross the sky. Something in her gut twisted. She didn't trust quiet anymore. "2 weeks ago," she said softly, "I got an anonymous call. No voice, just breathing. I think that was the first warning." Maya turned toward her. "You think someone inside the task force is compromised?" "I think someone's always watching too," Rachel said. "We're up against people with resources, reach, and no conscience. They're testing agents inside our hospitals. Think about that. They're turning our places of healing into weapon drop zones." Titan sat up abruptly. Rachel stilled. Maya looked around. "What is it?" Titan's ears were locked forward. His nose twitched. Then he stood, muscles tight. Rachel was on her feet in an instant. Pain shot through her side, but she ignored it. A soft pop cracked the air. Distant, suppressed. Then, another Titan growled, low, lethal. The rooftop door behind them opened with a slam. Detective Luis Navarro burst through, panting, gun drawn. "They're here." Rachel's voice was ice. "Who?" Luis glanced over his shoulder. "We don't know. 2 agents on the ground floor are down. Vents have been triggered again. This time. It's not just one wing, it's the whole damn hospital." Rachel turned to Maya. "Get to the basement generator. Cut power to the HVAC. But the patients, they'll die faster if you don't," she snapped. Maya ran. Luis helped steady Rachel as she moved toward the door. Titan was already at the stairs, ready. The hallway below was dark again, red emergency lights flashing every few feet. Smoke or gas, something chemical, curled through the air. Titan sneezed once, then pressed forward. 2 hospital staff members lay unconscious near the nurse's station. Rachel checked one's pulse. Alive but shallow breathing. Luis cursed. "This is coordinated. They've been planning this for weeks." Titan barked once. Short, clipped. A warning. Up ahead, 3 men in security uniforms moved toward the east wing. But Titan's posture told Rachel everything. These weren't staff. They were wolves in uniform. She raised her weapon. "Freeze!" The men didn't. They broke into... A run Titan launched. One went down instantly, screaming as the dog's jaws locked on his arm. Luis fired at the second, dropping him behind a row of chairs. The third turned, tossing a small cylinder down the hallway. Gas hissed. Rachel coughed. Eyes stinging. Back. Titan, heel. The K9 sprang away just as the gas cloud spread, dragging his prisoner with him. Luis shoved open a side door, and they spilled into a stairwell, coughing, hacking, but alive. Rachel leaned against the wall, blood blooming fresh through. Her bandages. Titan stood beside her, breathing hard but focused. Luis looked between them. "We need to move. Whoever these guys are, they're not trying to kill you right away. They're trying to retrieve something." Rachel's eyes snapped open. "The vials." "The evidence lockup," Luis said. "2nd floor. Let's go." By the time they reached the lockup hallway, the door was open. Inside, drawers were overturned. Cabinets pried open. One of the evidence crates, the one containing the vials from the ICU, was gone. Titan sniffed once, then took off. They followed. Down the hall, around the corner, Titan stopped abruptly, growled, and sat. Rachel saw it too, and Hawaii. Access panel ajar, behind it a shaft. The scent trail ended there. Luis cursed. "They're in the ducts." Rachel leaned in. Call Langston, tell her they're trying to exfil through the north wing, and tell her—" "What?" "Tell her this isn't a hospital breach anymore. This is a battlefield," Titan barked. Twice. Then the alarm started again, and the hunt began. For real this time. The duct system ran cold and narrow above the hospital ceilings, but the scent trail was unmistakable. Titan moved like a phantom, silent, relentless, each sniff locking onto the chemical signature left behind. Rachel followed, her breath tight, wounds screaming with every step. Luis trailed behind her, weapon drawn, speaking into the radio. "They've got the bioweapon samples. Heading east wing through the service ducts. ETA 5 minutes to sub-level 3. Send backup." No answer, just static. Rachel stopped. "We're being jammed." Titan growled low, not at the interference, at what was waiting ahead, a thin, metallic click echoed from a vent above. Rachel raised her gun just as a man dropped from the ceiling and rolled into a crouch. He wore a tech suit, face half covered by a breathing mask. No badge. No hesitation. He fired. The bullet grazed Rachel's shoulder, spinning her back. Titan didn't hesitate. He launched with a roar, pure muscle and fury, and crashed into the man's chest. They hit the floor together, skidding into a storage. "Cart!" The man screamed, his arm cracking beneath Titan's weight as the dog clamped down. Another figure dropped behind them, this one armed with a small canister. "Down!" Louis shouted, shooting the canister mid-air. It exploded in a puff of white mist, momentarily blinding everyone. Rachel coughed, eyes stinging, weapon raised again. She fired 2 shots into the darkness, one grunt, then silence. She crawled toward Titan's shadow, heart racing. He was still locked onto his target, but not biting anymore, just standing over the man. The guy wasn't moving. Rachel checked his pulse gone. Louise coughed behind her. "One of the vials is cracked." She looked. The smell was stronger now, sharper. The vial lay shattered in the corner, the clear agent dripping into the floor grate. Rachel paled. "That's airborne. Need isolation now." Titan barked once, then twice, his emergency signal. Rachel's eyes widened. The fire alarm again. Titan took off, up the corridor, left turn, past the nurse's station, straight toward the emergency control box behind the ER desk. Rachel's voice cracked. "Now, Titan!" He leapt, smashing the glass with a single, powerful bite. The siren screamed, doors slammed. The building sealed itself shut. And somewhere above them, the ventilation reversed again. Within minutes, emergency crews flooded the hospital. CDC techs in hazmat suits, FBI agents storming through every corridor. Maya arrived breathless, clutching an oxygen mask. "You isolated the agent just in time," she panted. "No casualties, containment confirmed." Louise pointed to Titan. "He saved us again." The medics tried to pull Rachel toward a gurney, but she refused. She walked out on her own, bloodied, bruised, but alive. Titan trotted beside her, head held high. Agent Langston met them at the ambulance bay. Her eyes swept over the scene. "We recovered all 3 suspects, 2 dead, 1 talking. And we're getting chatter. Airports in Chicago and Atlanta have reported similar incidents in the last 12 hours. Rachel pulled off her jacket, revealing fresh bandages and dried blood. "We warned you," she said. "It wasn't just a ring. It's a system." Langston's voice dropped. "You and your partner just exposed the biggest domestic bioweapons operation in U.S. history." Titan leaned into Rachel's hip. She smiled. "He did most of the work." Langston exhaled, then handed Rachel a sealed case. "This came through your channels. Washington wants you and Titan leading the National K9 pilot program. First team, first tier." Rachel opened it. Inside was Titan's new tactical vest, custom armor, embedded biosensors, federal ID patch stitched onto the chest. Titan sniffed, then looked up at her. Rachel clipped it on. "You earned it." 2 weeks later, they stood in front of the federal grand jury. Rachel testified calmly, clearly, laying out the operation from Redridge to Briarwood. Titan sat beside her, unmoving, unshaken. He didn't need to speak. He was the reason any of them were still alive. The conspiracy collapsed fast. Warrants, arrests, international leaks, contractors exposed, supply chains dismantled, and hospitals Across the country began receiving new visitors. K9 officers, trained in detection, protection, and the one skill no machine could replicate. Instinct. That night, back on the rooftop where it all began, Rachel sat with Titan again. The city lights flickered below. A cargo plane passed in the distance. She scratched behind his ear. It's quiet. Titan didn't move. Then, a shift. His ears perked. Stood. Rachel followed his gaze. Far in the distance, another plane touched down. The scent of jet fuel, the flicker of headlights, the faintest tick of something out of place. Rachel stood, slowly. Let's go, partner. Titan didn't wag his tail, he didn't bark. He just walked beside her into the dark, ready always because this fight wasn't over, not yet.